Good morning. I did forget where I was ended yesterday. I think I had the spot, but I'm not sure. Let's try. Hippias, Lesser Hippias, day 6. But although on that occasion, in the presence of the whole army, he spoke after this fashion, Achilles, and on the other occasion to his companions, he appears never to have made any preparation or attempt to draw down the ships, as if he had the least intention of sailing home. So nobly regardless was he of the truth. He was just having a fit. Now I, Hippias, originally asked you the question, because I was in doubt as to which of the two heroes was intended by the poet to be the better, and because I thought that both of them were preeminent, and that it would be difficult to decide which was the better of them, not only in respect of truth and falsehood, but of virtue generally. For even in this matter of speaking the truth they are much upon a par. Hippias. There you are wrong, Socrates, for insofar as Achilles speaks falsely, the falsehood is obviously unintentional. He is compelled against his will to remain and rescue the army in their misfortune. But when Odysseus speaks falsely, he is voluntarily and intentionally false. To the best of my memory, this is exactly now what this whole thing is about. Being intentionally false or being unintentionally false. You, sweet Hippias, like Odysseus, are a deceiver yourself. Certainly not, Socrates. What makes you say so? Because you say that Achilles does not speak falsely from design, when he is not only a deceiver, but besides being a braggart, in Homer's description of him, is so cunning and so far superior to Odysseus in lying and pretending, that he dares to contradict himself, and Odysseus does not find him out. At any rate, he does not appear to say anything to him which would imply that he perceived his falsehood. So I think Socrates is basically saying that Achilles were bluffing, and no one called his bluff, apparently. What do you mean, Socrates? Did you not observe that afterward, when he is speaking to Odysseus, he says that he will sail away with the early dawn, but to Ajax he tells quite a different story? Where is that? Where he says, I will not think about bloody war until the son of warlike Priam, illustrious Hector, comes to the tents and ships of the Myrmidons, slaughtering the Argives and burning the ships with fire. And about my tent and dark ship I suspect that Hector, although eager for the battle, will nevertheless stay his hand. Oh, Achilles and Hector. Probably the most, idyllic, illustrious opponents ever. Most famous for sure. But there's something in their combat that is pretty exquisite. Equals fighting equals. Pretty much as important, if not maybe more important than, no. Equals loving equals. Finding companions and finding competitors who challenge you because they're on equal footing with you. How do you really think, Hippias, that the son of, now do you really think, Hippias, that the son of Theseus, who had been the pupil of the sage Chiron, had such a bad memory, or would have carried the art of lying to such an extent, when he had been assailing liars in the most violent terms only the instant before, as to say to Odysseus that he would sail away, and to Ajax that he would remain, and that he was not rather practising upon the simplicity of Odysseus, whom he regarded as an ancient, and thinking that he would get the better of him by his own cunning and falsehood. Hippias: No, I do not agree with you, Socrates. But I believe that Achilles is induced to say one thing to Ajax and another to Odysseus, in the innocence of his heart, whereas Odysseus, whether he speaks falsely or truly, speaks always with a purpose. Socrates: Then Odysseus would appear after all to be better than Achilles. Certainly not, Socrates. Why? Were not the voluntary liars only just now shown to be better than the involuntary? And how, Socrates, can those who intentionally err and voluntarily and designedly commit iniquities be better than those who err and do wrong involuntarily? Agency. Surely there is a great excuse to be made for a man telling a falsehood, or doing an injury or any sort of harm to another, in ignorance. And the laws are obviously far more severe on those who lie or do evil voluntarily than on those who do evil involuntarily. Exactly. Because the law acknowledges agency. Socrates: You see, Hippias, as I have already told you, how pertinacious I am in questioning wise men. And I think that this is the only good point about me, for I am full of defects and always getting things wrong in some way or other. My deficiency is proved to me by the fact that when I meet one of you who are famous for wisdom, and to whose wisdom all the Hellenists are witnesses, I am found out to know nothing. For speaking generally, I hardly ever have the same opinion about anything which you have. And what proof of ignorance can be greater than to differ from wise men? But I have one singular good quality, which is my salvation. I think I don't know how to say what I think in words, so never mind. But I have one singular good quality, which is my salvation. Soterulu. Suteri, I think. I'll have a look. I am not ashamed to learn. And I ask and inquire, and am very grateful to those who answer me, and never fail to give them my grateful thanks. He says this also in the Republic, Thrasymachus, or I don't know how people pronounce it in English. Gets mad at him for not paying him for his wise words. And then he's like, everybody knows that when I hear wise words, I am eager to bestow praise upon that person. I am very generous with my praise. He just doesn't have money to give. And when I learn a thing, I never deny my teacher or pretend that the lesson is a discovery of my own. But I praise his wisdom and proclaim what I have learned from him. Okay, so this is that part where Socrates might be the sage trying to teach the adult in a way that an adult should never teach a child. And that is by being a bit ironic. I don't know. That's the whole problem. Because on the one hand, it seems very true that Socrates is eagerly searching for wisdom, because that's his whole thing. And his claim to fame is that he was wise because he knew nothing. Or he did not know all, I would rather say. But then on the other hand, it is said, I've heard, and I don't know how true it is, but it seems pretty true by what I've read from Socrates, that he's often kind of making fun of these men who claim to be wise. So what is he doing here? Does he really think Hippias has something to teach him, and is he really trying to learn? Or is he being a bit ironic? And when I learn a thing, I never deny my teacher or pretend that the lesson is a discovery of my own. But I praise his wisdom and proclaim that I have learned from him. Apparently, John takes him seriously because John imitates him. And now I cannot agree in what you are saying, but I strongly disagree. While I know that this is my own fault, and it is a defect in my character, but I will not pretend to be more than I am. And my opinion, Hippias, is the very contrary of what you are saying. For I maintain that those who hurt or injure mankind, and speak falsely and deceive, and err voluntarily, are better far than those who do wrong involuntarily. Sometimes, however, I am of the opposite opinion, for I am all abroad in my ideas about this matter, a condition obviously occasioned by ignorance. And just now I happen to be in a crisis of my disorder, at which those who err voluntarily appear to me better than those who err involuntarily. I think, in my unlearned opinion, is that this is exactly the situation of learned ignorance. That being all abroad in your ideas about this matter, a condition obviously occasioned by ignorance, he says, but it's learned ignorance. Because if you are truly ignorant, it's very easy to just cling to one opinion. But if you have learned ignorance, you've heard so much. And then one day, but maybe I'm just being, but no, I'm not going to say that. You can see both sides, and it very much depends on which shines the brightest at a particular point. It's very confusing to be learned. The more you know, the less sure you are of anything. My present state of mind is due to our previous argument, which inclines me to believe that in general, those who do wrong involuntarily are worse than those who do wrong voluntarily. And therefore I hope that you will be good to me and not refuse to heal me, for you will do me much greater benefit if you cure my soul of ignorance than you would if you were to cure my body of disease. I must, however, tell you beforehand that if you make a long oration to me, you will not cure me, for I shall not be able to follow you. But if you will answer me as you just did just now, you will do me a great deal of good, and I do not think that you will be any the worse yourself. And I have some claim upon you also, O son of Apodemus, for you incited me to converse with Hippias, And now, if Hippias will not answer me, you must entreat him on my behalf. Okay. There's also a very important sentence. If you answer me, as you did just now, you will do me a great deal of good, and I do not think that you will be any the worse yourself. It feels like that passage was maybe a bit too important just to breeze over like this. Maybe I will include it for philosophical fellowship. That seems like a good idea. Have a beautiful day.